Hello, everyone, once again. I think we are ready to start now.
Hello.
Hello, Natalie, hello, team. So let's check that everyone can hear and sees as well. Could you please type in the chat something if everything's okay and you see the presentation?
I also hope that the sound from ESCORT group comes okay.
Yeah, Tim, it's okay, especially for me. It's okay, thanks. So great, thank you. Yeah, I see that everything's okay. So hello everyone, once again, welcome to our webinar dedicated to how to build the system for transparent control of fuel consumption. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Alina, and I represent Galileosky, a developer of programmable GPS tracking hardware. Today, we will talk about the telematics solutions that can help to optimize fuel costs and prevent fuel thefts. Within this topic, we will consider different approaches to the fuel control that are used by fleet owners. We will see how the system based on Galileosky tracking devices and ESCORT fuel sensors may look like. And of course, we will share examples of implemented projects and set aside some time to answer your questions. And today I'm not alone. Together with me, colleagues from the ESCORT team will share their experience from the point of view of a sensor producer. Please meet Tim and Natalie.
Yes, hello everyone.
Yeah, hello. Good afternoon.
Great. So a few organizational moments. The webinar will take about 1 hour, and as usual, we will send the link to the record to all participants, so you may share it with your colleagues who had a chance to join us today. We also have a chat where you may share your thoughts and ideas. Please welcome. And there is a separate tab for questions. Please use it to ask something you would like to discuss, so we can answer all the questions at the end of the presentation and not miss a single one. Great. Let's start. To participants who have not met the Galileosky team before, I'm pleased to briefly introduce our expertise. Galileosky is an international team dedicated to the development and production of advanced tracking devices. In addition to a strong R&D team, we also have our own manufacturer, so we are fully committed to the quality of our equipment and guarantee such aspects like average service life of our devices is up to 2 years. Now we supply the equipment to our partners in more than 70 countries, and our technologies have already proved itself there as high-end solutions. By default, all the Galileosky tracking devices have built-in eco-driving features and features for direct work with the CAN bus cars. And of course, it's about Galileosky exclusive technology, Easy Logic. It allows users to program trackers in drag-and-drop algorithms or script writing. In other words, it's possible to set up various conditions and actions for the tracker and create your own scenario for the automatic work of the hardware, of equipment, of various assets. Thanks to these technologies, Galileosky devices are going beyond basic vehicle tracking. For example, some of our partners actively develop IoT solutions on the basis of our equipment. Now I would like to give the floor to my colleagues from ESCORT team. Natalie, could you please share a few words about ESCORT and your expertise and experience?
Yes, thank you, Alina. We are happy to welcome you here to this webinar.
Yes, welcome everyone. We are so glad to be here, invited by Galileosky.
And let me start with introducing our company. ESCORT is an international manufacturing company of measuring equipment for GPS and GLONASS system of transport monitoring. We provide reliable equipment for, with broad functional capabilities for effective management of the fleet park. Our plant is based in Russia, Kazan, and we have been having begun our activities in 2004 as integrators. We are now in the best position to know all the specific features of working in the sphere of transport telematics. We have started our production in 2009, and in 2018 was produced the first wireless fuel sensor on the market. Nowadays, we run a full-scale production line of IoT and complex telematics devices from idea to concept to research and development and mass production. Our best-selling tool, fuel sensor for automotive fleet, helps to save up to 30% of fuel expenses. Our IoT environmental tool, fully autonomous weather station and industrial gas analyzer for a variety of users such as agricultural sector, construction sector, and weather authorities. We are exporting in 118 countries all over the world. Our partners have already saved and earned thousands of US dollars over these years with our IoT and telematic solutions. We are working with Africa from 2016, and today we can truly tell that we have quite strong footholds for the African telematics market. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Natalie, for the introduction. That's great. That's really great. You have such a large project geography with the partners from Africa. Based on our experience, we can say that this market is one of the most dynamically developing one. We had started our history in Africa with basic tasks like tracking only, and now we really see that advanced telematics is already being actively used there. And of course, we have a portfolio of joint projects where Galileosky and ESCORT products, solutions are used together. On the slides, we have collected examples of our latest projects. As you can see, tasks are really not limited by basic features only. They start with complex fuel control like it was applied for dump trucks in Tanzania, for example, and go to stationary assets control. Tim, could you please briefly tell us about use cases from Namibia and Nigeria? Because I'm sure our audience is as interested as I am to know details about telecom tower control.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's divide. Why don't you tell about the Namibia project, and I'll say a few words about Nigerian telecom tower project.
Okay, for the fuel monitoring for the heavy machinery, we would like to look at the case in Namibia. As we all can imagine that heavy machinery, special machinery, they requires a lot of fuel and takes a lot of fuel consumption. So in order to reduce the fuel consumption, there we have been installing the fuel sensors, and the proper installation, the calibration of the fuel sensor save up to 45% and reduce the consumption of the fuel.
Yeah, that's the truth. Big machines, big tanks, a lot of fuel. Recently, one of our partners also have implemented telecom tower diesel generator monitoring in Nigeria, not only with fuel level sensors, but additionally with temperature and humidity sensors. because those parameters are also crucial in addition to the fuel level. And the latter, the fuel level, is obviously quite important parameter, because filling up those diesel generators for the telecommunication towers, it's a hard task. They might be located quite in remote areas, and there wouldn't be a good thing for you to find out that there is no fuel in the generator, that the telecommunication tower is down, and it's all due to the simple fuel theft. So yeah, this project was also implemented by one of our partners with Galileo Sky trackers and ESCORT fuel and temperature humidity sensors.
Good, very interesting. Thank you. Well, and now we are moving on to our topic, to see it from different points of view, to see it comprehensively. Let's start with considering the main approaches to fuel control that now exist on the market. Based on our experience, we have determined four widespread methods. The first one is obviously the classic management without telematics. It may be based on waybills, for example, which drivers or gas station operators fill up manually. The second one is a monitoring system on the basis of a tracking devices only. The next approach is the next level of the monitoring system, when it includes professional fuel sensors. And the last one is the complex fuel control system with several ways to collect and analyze the fuel information. It's about a combination of tracker's opportunity and sensors accuracy. So next, we will look at each approach in more detail. We'll discuss their concepts, disadvantages, advantages. But firstly, I'd like to ask everyone to type in the chat the number of a method that you prefer to use in your monitoring business, or you think is more popular among fleet owners. Or if you use any other method which is not presented on the slide, please share it too. That would be great if we could exchange our experiences with each other. So please welcome. So for example, we as a manufacturer very often need systems when there is no any telematics used by fleet owners. So we are like first solution. So okay, I see that the third option is the most popular. Okay, so I believe Tim and Natalie will describe these methods in huge details later. So great, the third one. Great. Good. So I think we can move on. So Tim, maybe could you please start with the first approach and share your personal experience?
Yeah, I sure could. This is not something I would call exactly a fuel consumption control, but rather an accounting control. So this is a way for your company to know that you are paying exactly for fuel, exactly at the specified gas station. I personally have been driving a truck back in the day, and we used that system. We used to have a discounted rate on a certain gas stations, more like loyalty program, kind of, in a way, and those loyalty cards, they were at the same time they were payment cards. So yes, the employee could see that the fuel actually was paid for from his account, and the fuel of the specified location, a specified brand, which is kind of a safe thing, because at least you know that your machinery is not being filled up by some random diesel. However, as I said, using these fuel cards does not really stop any drivers from carrying a couple of canisters of 25 liters each for example, and the discharge of the fuel pump will show the system that there is indeed 400 liters of diesel were paid for, but in fact only 350 liters of that diesel went actually into the fuel tank, because the rest of the diesel was went into the canister, or it went to the next truck, or it went to the personal use, whatever, you think of it, you can do with the diesel. I mean, the easiest is to sell, obviously, but you also can burn it. So yeah, as I would say, not too many advantages in this, but maybe for the gas station, because it ensures that people come to the same gas station for filling up the trucks. And I wouldn't really call it a fuel consumption control, rather than a good sales marketing from the gas station and from the loyalty program, aggregators, so-called. So yeah, it's a very, very high probability. I wouldn't rely on this kind of a method to actually monitor your fuel. Yeah, I think that's as much as I can say. I don't see any advantages in this kind of scenario.
Great. So that is why we need to go to the next approach, which already includes some telematics methodology, which excludes the human factor, of course. So the next method to control fuel consumption was GPS tracking device installation. The majority of professional trackers have inputs or interfaces to connect different sensors, including standard sensors of vehicles. So, for example, we can connect a tracker with an odometer in a car, and then we can calculate the fuel consumption on the basis of the mileage of a car, and also average consumption value for a car model, if we have it. If the result which we receive corresponds to figures from waybills filled up by drivers, and let's say inaccuracy is the difference is no more than 5 or 10%, then most likely the consumption is correct. But if we get a discrepancy of about 20%, for example, then it looks like a reason to start an investigation with the driver. Why figures differ so much? Similarly, the mileage can be counted by the tracker, by the GPS coordinates. Usually it's done automatically, and sometimes this value is much more accurate than the standard car odometer readings, so it also may be used. This approach can be applied to any fleet where the basic monitoring is enough and the average fuel consumption is predictable. For example, buses traveling by the same roads, or cars where the speed is quite limited. So this is actually a huge limitations. And at the same time, it's quite difficult to detect fuel drains from the return line, for example. And when the fuel consumption depends on operation conditions, like loading modes for heavy machinery. And as a result, there is still a high fraud probability, so the efficiency of this system is quite low too. That is why there is one more control method, which is most popular between our participants. Tim, I believe that you and Natalie will share more details than me regarding this.
Yeah, absolutely. Monitoring using a fuel level sensor. As a fleet manager or accountant, you surely know that the fuel is money. While money is relatively easy to count, fuel not so much so, while you have proper equipment for that. Many companies that own fleets of trucks, vehicles, heavy machinery have suffered substantial losses for that. The fuel level sensor is installed inside of the vehicle's tank and keep records on any change of the fuel level in the tank. The sensor provides 99% of accuracy. However, in order to reach that level of precision, you need to install and to do the sensor calibration properly. Then you need to do the tank calibration in order to receive the precious data. In order to receive those data, you need to connect the fuel level sensor to the GPS tracking device. Then the GPS tracker will transfer that information into the monitoring platform. If there would be any fuel change in the tank, you will see when and where it happens on the monitoring platform. And you also can generate and create different types of the fuel consumption reports, fuel fillings, fuel drains into your monitoring platform using your computer or mobile phone or your smartphone. If there are any fuel changes, you will be able to spot them and prevent from the happening it in the future. Except of them getting the fuel level from the fuel sensor, you also can receive and you can keep records of the fuelings and refillings and can easily track any manipulations with the fuel. The only thing, the sensor length can be cut according of the height of the fuel tank, unless it's less than 15 centimeters. This case, it's not possible sometimes install the fuel sensor and monitor the fuel level in the light cars and light vehicles.
Okay.
I would like to add, I see the question about the solution, which is the most tamper-proof. From some experience in manufacturing of fuel level sensors, we got plenty of such kind of requests, and it led us to making the wireless fuel level sensor, which we will talk about this in a few next slides. But the key point that the main point of tampering was the wire. And that was the most place where it was getting cut, getting damaged, even eaten by rats, so quite crazy stories there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
back to you.
I agree with you. Absolutely. So the next and the last approach which we will discuss for today is a complex fuel control system with both the trackers and the professional sensors. So we can say that this will be the most advanced approach, and as a result, it may provide the most accurate, the most reliable information for decision making. So the majority of modern vehicles have the CAN bus. This interface provides information exchange between various sensors and electronic systems within a vehicle, including the standard fuel sensors. So we can connect the tracker to the CAN bus and parse it. If the vehicle manufacturer provided fuel parameters there, then there is a chance that we can find and extract them. However, standard fuel sensors usually work with floats that may give us an inaccuracy up to 15% of the tank volume. So actually, it might be quite high figure. Additionally, floats may be insensitive at the top or bottom levels of the tank, so we will not be able to see real change of fuel levels sometimes. To compensate for this inaccuracy, integrators of monitoring system usually install additional professional sensors in the tank, like in the previous method which the ESCORT colleagues kindly described. In this case, we can receive and compare the parallel readings from different sensors. So we may get more accurate, accurate analytics about fuel consumption and also a large number of other parameters about vehicle situation from the canvas. So it may, in our experience, it may really different data, like starting from the fuel parameter, fuel level inside the car, and finished by seat belt status of the drivers or passengers and many other. It should be noticed that everything, each case with the canvas is individual because different vehicles manufacturer, different vehicles brands includes absolutely different data in their canvases. Sometimes the data may differ even for the same model, for cars of the same model, but different years of production. As a manufacturer, we provide some extra features for parsing canvas data, but it should be remembered that each case is individual and need to be tested before the implementation. Regarding this approach, as a result, we suppose that it will be the more advanced, more comprehensive way to not just track fuel thefts, but also analyze fuel consumption depending on various conditions, because we can compare the fuel consumption figures with different parameters of a car, like loading mode, overspeeding, something like this. So we may not only control fuel, but also analyze reasons why this fuel amount is consumed. So, and let's see how the architecture of such monitoring system may look like in practice. I will start from our Galileosky part with our devices. The core of the Galileosky portfolio is the 7X series, which includes modification with different sets of interfaces to connect external sensors and equipment. In particular, all 7X trackers have capabilities for connection of 1 or 2 CAN Our devices work automatically with more widespread CAN protocols like J9079 and J9039, including FMS modification. The connection can be done with contactless readers or directly with wire cutting. It's absolutely up to you and customers. When we are talking about connection of fuel level sensors, up to 10 inputs are available for sensors working over analog signal, and up to 16 sensors supporting LS protocol, like ESCORT sensors, can be connected through serial ports RS485, for example. Full feature 7X modification also support Bluetooth for wireless sensors connection. On the slide, you may see our new interface for parsing advertising packets from Belay sensors. It may not be very clear because of the picture size, but in these examples, the tracker scanning exactly fuel and angle sensors by ESCORT. I'm not sure if I will be able to show, but if I remember properly, there are something here and here. So, Team Natalie, could you please now tell us a little about the ESCORT sensors, maybe?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have here a few samples of our devices. So I would like to start with our best-selling tool. This is the wireless fuel level sensor that comes with no wires. There is nothing to cut. That will reduce the installation time and will save you time for the installation, of course. The sensor is fully autonomous. It works on one battery. We have been calculated mathematically the lifetime of the battery is up to 7 years. So you don't need to buy then the new sensor. You just take out the old battery, replace for the new one, and still can continue using the fuel sensor. All our sensors have different length, starting from 1 meter and can reach up to 6 meters. So that means that you can implement and use the fuel sensor starting from regular tanks and diesel generators, and can install even for the monitoring of the stationary tanks. All sensors provide 99% of accuracy, and the installation of the fuel sensor never been so easily how it can be with the wireless sensor, as nowadays you just can install to configure and do the calibration using only your smartphones, your mobile phones, because you don't need to carry the computer on the fields within the installation. Speaking about the wired sensors, we have a few samples of the wired sensors, and they all differ from each other within the interfaces they have in one sensor. For instance, I have here our bestseller for the wired sensors. This is TD150, and here we have 3 interfaces how to connect to that tracker. You can connect it using RS485 frequency or analog mode, and that is up to you which one you would decide. And one more thing for the wireless sensor, in case if your tracker doesn't support Bluetooth, you can easily connect that fuel sensor within using adapter RS485, and that adapter will be like a bridge between the fuel sensor and the GPS tracking device, and will connect it and transfer all data. And now I will ask Tim to advise more about the connecting to the Galileosky devices.
Sure. Yeah, you mentioned a few words about the protocols and connectivity. So when we talk about the wired solutions, it's quite obvious. We are all used to this. Each sensor comes with 7 meters of wire harness, which we have to run through the frame of the vehicle and then connect to the GPS tracking device. That could be analog input, that could be RS485, our favorite, could be RS232, frequency and impulse interfaces, you know, if I'm remember this correctly. You know, the previous question in the chat was about the tamper-proof devices, one more thing I wanted to add here. When we install the sensor and when we are done with installation, we close the sensor with the anti-tampering tamper-proof lid, which is made from the glass-filled polyamide, basically aluminum strength, so you can try to break it. It's going to be not an easy task to do, and also the metallic seal will tell you if the sensor was tampered with. Next level of the safety and the tamper-proof is say no to wires. We have implemented BLE technology in a few level sensors, the first ones in telematics industry. And Galileosky were also one of the first ones to implement ESCORT BLE protocol. So a sensor works in an advertising mode. It basically broadcasts the packets of data each 3 seconds. The specifics of the Bluetooth communication allows for some loss of the packets. That's why these packets are redundant. So they would be carrying the same message for over the span of 10 seconds. Then the new measurement of the fuel will come, and then each 3 seconds the sensor will keep broadcasting the same data. Now, the tracker Galileosky 7X with implemented BLE protocol will be listening to those messages and will be catching them and then transmitting them to the server as the fuel level, fuel temperature, battery charge, and the RSSI, which is a received signal strength indicator. So that's a direct communication. If in case you have RS485 input on the device but no Bluetooth, or on the other hand, if you have to increase the range, let's say you want to install the sensor not on a regular truck, but you want to install on a heavy machinery, on some mining machinery or some stationary tank. So then you can use this BLE to RS485 converter, which also acts as a single signal amplifier and the converter. So that means in this case it will be acting as if you have connected regular wired fuel level sensor, because the RS485 output of the adapter uses LLS protocol, commonly implemented. Everyone uses the same protocol. You can connect up to 4 devices at the same time to one receiver base. And with Galileosky, if I'm not mistaken, with a direct Bluetooth communication, you can connect up to 8 Bluetooth devices. But we might need to check up on that, because this is my latest info. It has 8 slots for connecting BLE sensors, not only fuel level sensors, but you can also connect 2 fuel level sensors. Let's say for the left and right tank, you can connect DU-BLE angle sensor for the excavator. You can connect temperature, humidity sensors, and so on. One more slide I wanted to show you. Here you can scan this video, so please go ahead and use your QR code scanner. Basically, this is a video quick start on how exactly connect wireless fuel level sensor to the Galileosky device. And by the way, there in this video, you would see how many sensors you can connect to one Galileosky, 4 or 8. So, and then you can prove me wrong, because, because this is, my mind is not a bit clear in this matter. So yeah, that's long story short. And back to you, Alena.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Tim. So on our side, we also have short video manuals for connection of ESCORT Bluetooth sensors. So please welcome. If it's needed, we may share links to our YouTube via emails later. So also welcome. Thank you guys for the interesting story. Actually, I think that we could move to more practice, so we can go to our examples. So maybe you will also take a word regarding this.
Yeah, let's take back to the case that we have discussed a little bit earlier. In Namibia, the monitoring of the heavy machinery in the diamond quarry. So we have received an inquiry from the client who was facing some issues, some problems within the fuel theft by the drivers and employees. So we have received the task in order to be able to control and monitor the heavy machinery. Then we need to stop and to prevent from the fuel theft mentioned by drivers and the employees of the client. And also we need to control and reduce the consumption of the fuel and reduce its cost. So let's look how we manage it.
The idea is still on the surface. In order to sensorize heavy equipment, you have to install the proper hardware, proper telematics hardware. So we like to say that the whole vehicle telematics is divided into 3 layers. The sensors would be the bottom layers, where they would be robust enough, reliable enough to collect the necessary data from the fuel tank, because that's where the fuel is stored. So the sensor would be collecting the data from the fuel tank. A few words about the particular sensors that have been used in this project. Because of the tamper-proof protection, our South African partner went to install wireless sensors only, but they were of the different length. When we talk about trucks, dump trucks, and regular vehicles, the sensors were cut according to the size, let's say 50 centimeters high, 60 centimeters high, but also, in addition to that, they used the longer sensors for the crushers, for the heavy big dump trucks, like the huge Caterpillar trucks, excavators. So they used to I remember they bought like 1.5 meter sensors for that kind of a purpose. They also installed the variety of other equipment which I do not know much about. There was some immobilizers, some additional kind of stuff, I would say it, like electrical, but that's because of the integrators idea of how to properly equip mining equipment, mining machinery. From our side, we only supplied the sensors, and the GPS tracking device obviously is being installed in the driver's cabin under the dashboard, the most suitable thing. With the Bluetooth connectivity, however, you have to check for the stability of the RSSI signal. We have plenty of manuals, about this, because that's your analog of the wire. You're not using the wire anymore with a stable data transmission, but very tamper. You can easily tamper with the wire. With the Bluetooth connectivity, it's good, it's stable when you follow the proper RSSI rules. So your signal should be within the good range, which we can talk about this later. I guess back to you, Alena.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And here you may see parts of the report that was provided by our partner. Due to some privacy reasons, only some general details are shown here, but it's enough to say general concept. So there are two lines of fuel levels from two different sensors. The red one shows the data from the standard sensors of the truck, received through the CAN bus, and the blue one shows the data from the ESCORT sensors. Here it is. The graph shows that the standard sensors gives a less clear line. There are small jumps in the fuel level while the truck is moving. Then the lines match perfectly during refueling. So I assume we can say that the external sensor was well calibrated. Yes, Tim, confirm?
Yeah, look, but when the fuel level goes up in a stable way, which is provided by the fuel pump because they are calibrated. So then, anything will float just perfectly. But no, this is a good fuel graph. This is a good fuel graph when I talk about the linearity of our sensor. This is a good graph.
Yeah. So just there are some moments we can see regarding the data from the CAN bus. We can see that there is an insensitive zone for the standard sensors when the tank is almost full. So here it is in the start and the end. So the sensor from ESCORT gives us a more complete view of the real fuel level change at this moment. So you can see here. But generally, I agree with him. Both lines conform each other. Therefore, we have a pretty clear understanding of how much fuel this truck consumed. And as a result, after implementation of this fuel management system, the customer was able to achieve actually quite good figures. They were able to achieve a reduction in fuel thefts, and as a result, reduce expenses to fuel up to 40%. A really great figure, I think. And since other parameters were also controlled along with the fuel, for example, the operation of machinery in motion and idle, it was possible to optimize the machinery operation time and reduce downtime by 20%. And of course, such a strict control system improved the discipline of drivers and machinery operators. That is actually also lead to a reduction of fuel thefts, I suppose. So with these figures, we would like to end our presentation for today. Now we have some time to discuss your questions. Also, maybe let's check our question tab. So, and unfortunately, I see nothing here, but I see active dialogues on our chats. So let's check it here. So, so I see the question, the situation description for Mr. Bernard Lima. I'm not sure if our colleagues have already answered there. Okay, I see. It's quite difficult to manage to find all the answer, all the questions which are not answered here. Please, if you have something to discuss, please text them in question tab so we can see all the unmanaged questions. Now, if you have any project or case or troubles that you also would like to discuss now, please also text us. We will advise. Doing business with Western customers did actually.
Martin, good question. It's a very good question. Yeah.
Tim. So Tim, you may start with your parts if you have something to say.
Yeah. Martin, so what we have now, obviously, it's an ever-changing situation. I'm talking right now. I'm talking strictly about the scope of the exportation and manufacturing of the devices. Outside of the politics. It's ever-changing situation. Every day we have some new inputs. We have European Union. We have the United States that are passing along some sanctions against Russian Federation. It just happens so we are located right in the middle of the Russian Federation. That's bad news, right? In a way, for the exportation and so on. Good news now. We have established some time ago office in India. We also have established some presence in Kazakhstan, which is finalizing, and we have a few partners in Dubai and Europe. Funny enough, we are able to supply in a majority of countries. I think recently we've been receiving direct payments from African countries. South Africa is definitely not a problem at all. Money goes back and forth between the Russian Federation and South Africa. If and when and if, hopefully not, there are going to be some further restrictions, we would be able to supply either from Dubai or from Delhi, India, or from Vilnius, Lithuania. So those are our options. I'm not talking about Mexican market, I mean Latin American market, because we have somebody in Mexico as well. So what we strive to is to have this constant supply of the sensors to any of the customers. We just have to maybe add a bit of the lead time. I'll be honest, we have to add maybe 1 week of the lead time to the sensor supply. So in case if you have some project in head coming in some foreseeable future, just add 1 more week and you'll have your sensors all right there, delivered at your place where you want them to be.
Yeah. Thank you, Tim. From our side, we have similar actions. Several years ago, Galileosky opened the separate office in Hong Kong. So we now work worldwide from the Hong Kong, including any financial transfers, including documents, etc. So we try to distinguish from the Russian market. So there are no problems with shipments to Europe, to Middle East, to Africa. Already we continue to supply. We still have our production line in Russia. It's replacing to the China. Now takes more time because a new COVID wave in China. So we are still continue shipments directly from Russia. If our partners may face any difficulties with goods from Russia, we have a lot of reliable partners in CIS regions. We have a lot of partners in Dubai, so we can involve them as our representative distributor to supply to them. And of course, we hope to finalize all the procedures with our Chinese production, with our Chinese product line later this summer, I think. So we hope we answer these questions. So I still not see the question tab. So if you have any questions which we haven't still answered yet, please copy them in the question tab because I'm afraid we can lose it in the chat.
Yeah, I see the same kind of a question from Mikhail or from
Yeah.
Nikolai. Yeah, about the how do we plan to avoid the sanctions. So that was the answer. And funny enough that I noticed that most of the fuel level sensor manufacturers in the world are located just in the same kind of a region. You go from from Urals, you go to all the way to Minsk, all the way to Kiev, and it's and then you go. There's RCS, there's Mechatronics, Technoton. There's some friends over here. So we all in it together in a way. I just certainly hope that we'll find a good way to peace, and a good way to prosperity and stability of our customers. So that's what I think. That's the plan. Everybody has the same kind of a plan, I think.
Yeah, for sure. The origin. So there is, Tim, there is a new question from Mr. Hossam regarding the origin of the sensors.
Well, may I ask you a question about West Africa? So I think, Natalia, maybe you can answer. We did supply, yeah?
Yeah, we are supplying to West Africa.
Yeah, about the origin, the question about the origin of the sensors. The sensors are made in the Russian Federation. We supply, we are not hiding it in any way, because that was the process for over the 10 years. So the certificate of origin, if you need it to, it will say that the sensors were manufactured in the Russian Federation until we establish one more production line elsewhere. Okay. Does fuel level sensor TDBLE have to be activated first when buying new one, or can it be used right away? Okay. The sensor with such a long battery life, which was made possible by actually implementing a very expensive and good battery in the sensor, because the power supply when you want to make it autonomous is very important. So it does not go to the sleep mode. It does not need to. It actually is ready to use right from the box. It's already pre-calibrated. 100% of sensors are being calibrated with fuel on the factory, full and empty. After you make a cut, then you download our app from Android, from Google Play, from App Store, or from Huawei Store, depending on what kind of phone do you have. Then using this app, you can do all the calibration, all the tank calibration, and any kind of setting the password, setting full and empty process with this app. In my experience, it takes to take the sensor out of the box, to connect, to calibrate, to cut, before the installation. Basically, I'm talking about the preparation process. Could take easily 15 minutes, so very, very fast and very easy to do. Lead time to Nairobi, Kenya. Depends from where. Maybe I should ask Natalia.
Yeah, currently we are using DHL courier service for the deliveries to all around the world. And if we're talking about the Kenya via DHL, the lead time can be like around 10-14 days to reach your place. In some cases, we are able also to send via air cargo companies. In that case, the delivery would be a little bit faster, around 5-7 days.
Okay. Also, what is the lifespan of the BLE battery? How can the battery level be checked during the lifespan of the device? Let me just answer this question a bit wider. The battery itself, the service life of the battery, which is made by the company called Saft, located in France. They specialize in the batteries specifically for aerospace, IoT, medical use. So it's not your regular Duracell battery, which you have in your TV remote. So self-discharge rate and the chemistry, allows this battery to be on the shelf up to 20 years. That's at least what the manufacturer tells us. If it's not put anywhere, it's just not connected to anything, it will lay on a shelf for 20 years. It will not leak. It will not self-discharge. When we install it in the sensor, if we install it in the angle sensor, which consumes more power, then we have a mathematical formula to determine that it will live there approximately 3 years. When we install it in the fuel level sensor, based on the average formula which mathematically allows us to calculate the lifespan in the sensor, 7 years. This could vary based on the length of the sensor, based on the intensity of measurements, based on the temperature conditions, obviously. Frankly, we did not make these sensors for over than 7 years, so we cannot say 100% it lives. It's a mathematical equation. It allows us to give an educated guess, the same that allows us to launch the spaceship into the air. For the fact, they work 4 years. For the fact, this is 100%. This is how long we've been making these sensors, and we have still the first models just hanging outside in the wind, in the cold, in the winter, in the summer, and you still can connect to those sensors and retrieve data.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. And I also have the maybe comments from Martin from Ghana about the service life of TD-BLE sensors.
Okay, Martin. Yeah, thank you. You're in Ghana. Okay, used a lot of TD-BLEs, and that's great, man. What is so you have to know Natalia for sure. You kind of want directly buy from the escort to best serve. Okay. How do you want to contact us directly? You can just easily write us in the chat on the website. Just file a request and it will go straight to her. If you are from Ghana, she will handle, Natalia will handle your request.
Yeah, I will contact you then.
Mm-hmm.
So by the way, here on the slide, there is addresses of our websites, and you may go and send the request right now, actually, I think. The next question from Mr. Jose: the sensor must be energized independently, directly from the vehicle battery?
Wired sensor, yeah. A wireless sensor, as I said, it's powered by the battery. The form of the battery is maybe actually we can show it right here. Yeah, we can pop up the lead. Yeah. So I'm not sure how good you can see this on a little screen. So this is the size of the battery. It's AA. But it's not a standard battery. It's 3.6 volts with the lithium thionyl chloride chemistry inside. So yeah, that's how the sensor is powered when we talk about the wireless sensor. So when we cover it with the anti-tampering lead, we can clearly see there is no wires, no possibility to connect to the vehicle battery, and no necessity to do so. Okay, yeah, we'll be expecting your email. Yeah. All right. The lens. Can you answer?
Yeah, we have a standard length of the fuel sensor from 1 meter, and then can reach up to 6 meters. In case then you need like 20 centimeters or 30 centimeters of the sensor, you can easily cut the fuel sensor according to the height of the fuel tank. So yes, you can cut whatever length you want, unless it shouldn't be less than 15 centimeters. In this case, the sensor may not work and may not function properly.
Yeah. From my experience, I had some customer that cut our sensor 13 centimeters. They said they were okay with the results. So we're not saying you absolutely shouldn't experiment and you absolutely shouldn't try. So this is not our type of business. In our business in telematics, we always experiment. But then as the manufacturer, we say it may not work properly. At least your accuracy could suffer. But then again, who knows, maybe you would be the one who will cut the sensor 10 centimeters and be able to provide 99% accuracy to your customer.
So I have one more question from Salomon regarding distributors in Dubai. There are also a few questions regarding the resolution of sensors, and also from Joshua
Let me say about resolution. Yeah. Our favorite mode of measuring and data transmission is digital. When we talk about wireless, it's purely digital. When we talk about wired, it's optional but also preferable. So when you calibrate full and empty, and when you set the sensor to become so-called a measuring tape for the level of the fuel, in a way, you have to divide it into partitions. So there is a possibility of setting the range from 0 to 4095, or from which we call an extended range. And we also have the standard range from 0 to 1023. So what does it mean? When you set the sensor from 0 to 1023, that means you are virtually dividing the sensor to 1024 increments, so to say. Yeah. Basically, when you don't need extended range unless you install some 2-meter sensors, 3-meter sensors, then you must use extended range. Otherwise, the standard range is perfectly enough. But I guess the habit of most fuel integrators just tells them to make this extended range for any length of the sensor. So that's how, if I understand your question correctly, so that's the resolution of the sensor.
There is the next question from Joshua from Kenya regarding the mobile applications capabilities.
Let me just scroll it up. Yep, right here. Can you read? I'll read it out. What would it take to improve the data logging mobile app capabilities? Question mark. For example, capabilities to select date and time, enter mileage, to calculate consumption. That's interesting. That's an interesting question for our app developers.
Yeah, we should advise and consult.
No, but no, there's a one thing that you can do nowadays with our app. Each wireless sensor has the black box memory. The black box memory will record independently of any circumstances up to 1 month of the fuel data. So independently of all circumstances, I mean independently of power loss of the vehicle, or power loss on the diesel generator, or power loss for the whole city, it will still record. If there is no GSM connection and the GPS tracker is not able to transfer, it will still record. If somebody took the vehicle power down, there's no power to the GPS tracker, the sensor will still record. It's more of an emergency measure, but you can approach the sensor with the app and you can build the graph of the fuel graph for the selected period of time. Unfortunately, the sensor by itself cannot detect the speed of the vehicle, so that's why this data will not be tied to the speed of the vehicle, but rather it will be connected to the time which you set. Automatically is being set to the inner clock of the sensor when you first time connect to it. So for now, there is a black box memory for the fuel data inside of the sensor.
Good. The next question is from Monsieur Philippe from Congo. And I believe that my colleague Dmitry from our technical support team have already answered regarding the number of wireless sensors that can be connected to the tracker. It depends not on the number of sensors. It depends about number of parameters. So our trackers can parse up to 64 parameters. So you may connect up to 60 sensors, that will send only one parameter, but or can send 3 pieces of equipment that send a lot of parameters. So it really depends. And there are also the question from Monsieur Philippe regarding collaboration of ESCORT sensors, and if there is a necessity to make some settings on Galileosky platform. You will need to set up connection with sensors on the BLE tab of our configurator program. I think that Dmitry could share the link to the manual regarding this, how to do it. If you have any troubles with it or need some online workshop, let's say, we could arrange it and could show how it works. No problem. Next question from Nikolai, Mechatronics. What is the power of signal Bluetooth signal? How many meters by test and in real object? I believe that this question to you guys.
So as you guys also have been working with BLE, so I'm sure you have your own stack of knowledge, yeah, how these things work. So what can I say? When we talk about the radio frequency, and I'll be talking to all the audience now, it's a bit of the different beast than the wire. Again, anything affects radio frequency that is in the air. Air temperature, humidity, dust particles, even for the Bluetooth signal specifically, the change of the density is a killer for those. For example, you can have your GPS tracker above the water, and then you just submerge the fuel level sensor or any Bluetooth device in the water. So there will be a change of the density between the water and the air, and the signal will be blocked even if you have the distance between any Bluetooth devices. You can try it with your smartwatch. You can try it with your earphones. You can put your phone in the water, and then you will be hearing no sound in your earphones because Bluetooth earphones, because it's going to be blocked by the substance. So when we create a fuel level sensor specifically for the vehicles, for the trucks, we assume that these trucks will not be submerged in the water for a long period of time. And the maximum that should stand between the fuel tank and the GPS tracking, no, you can use a plastic bag or something, just for the sake of experiment. When we install the GPS tracker in the truck cabin and we install the fuel level sensor in the back, in the fuel tank, which is behind the driver, the distance in a general vehicle, that could be the tractor, that could be the dump truck, does not exceed 3-5 meters, 10, 12, 15 feet tops. And signal goes right through. Again, you have to check the RSSI readings in the Galileosky device. Yeah. So how good is the signal? In certain cases, I did some installation for the cheaper, very, very, very cheap tracker of another brand, and just hiding it behind the plastic dashboard, or something, drastically decrease the signal level. Now also we have to understand another thing, that the receiving party should be also of the good quality. What I know about Galileosky, it has a bigger size, so when we had plenty of conversation, and I have good respect for these devices because they have designated and a good quality microchips for each type of the communication, unlike some very cheap devices which have this combo chips. They have to switch from the mode to mode. So for you to not to think of the experimental things like how long the Bluetooth signal, on a clear line of sight we may reach up to 100 meters, but then it's experimental. It's the same of testing the sensor in a lab. It can give you 99.9% accuracy, but what of it? Once you go in the field, once you take the screwdriver and installation, and there's a dust, there's a dirt, you go installation, you don't care about this, what is written in a user manual, that it tells you that 100 meters is a line of sight, or marketing materials, so on. You rely on the real data, and this real data and real experience can get from experience, installation. Second, constant communication with our technical support, and asking us, will it work on this kind of a machinery? If you go into the mines, and you have the Bluetooth mesh deployed in these mines, and you have the bus full of people, where the fuel tank is in the back and the GPS tracker is in the front, don't do wireless fuel level sensor. Don't do it. It's not for every single situation. But for most situations, when you have the fuel truck, the regular truck, even the fuel transporters, it works fine. You don't have to lay these wires. Stationary tanks. Imagine the stationary tank that stands 20 meters away from the from the booth or from the antenna or something, laying this 20 meters of wire, then protecting this wire, it's a lot of time. Then you just install the wireless fuel level sensor, boom, you check the signal strength, it's good, you're good to go. Then yeah, that's my answer about the about your question.
Thank you for the comprehensive answer. And Tim, Natalie, I have a good question. We have our first question in the question tab. So,
Okay.
yeah, I suppose that Natalie could assist us with it.
Can I see it? Where do I access it? I'm not sure. I probably can.
Question to the question tab. So the question is from Salman regarding ESCORT distributors based in Dubai.
About distributor in Dubai. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
your domain. You talk about.
We have here our local representative. We have here the distributor, so you can easily purchase from them our devices, and you just need firstly to contact us. I can introduce your contact details to them or direct contacts to you, and just we'll keep in touch together and we'll cover all your needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the main thing, what we call a distributor, this is somebody that we have certain agreements on the supply price and the supply range, and a few other things on keeping the stock. So don't confuse them with a reseller, because we have resellers in approximately more than 100 countries in the world. So if you have a necessity to buy the fuel level sensor, you can do it almost anywhere. But if you want to do it over the controlled scenario, you better to get in touch with us. So then we pass your request, and then we control this request, how it's being done.
Yeah.
So the pricing is good, the supply line is good, and everything is controlled.
We also have one more question in chat from Monsieur Philippe regarding you guys. Can you provide flexible sensors for big fuel depot tanks or fuel station tanks? Natalie, I remember you mentioned
flexible. You mean to bend them? You want to bend them? If that's the question, actually, people do that quite successfully. The main thing for you to, I really hope that I'm talking about the right subject. But yes, there could be some situations with a complex shape of tanks where you might need to experiment on bending the sensor. Okay, so now we just apply a regular tube bending rule. The main thing is for electrodes, the inner and outer electrodes, as you may see, inner tube and outer tube, not to touch each other, not to get into the short circuit. People do the following: they use the fine salt and they fill up the tubes all the way. So they make sure the salt, the actual food salt, is inside of the tubes, and then they go to bending. I mean, however you do it, you can use the machine, you can use your knee if you're strong enough, or somehow, not too much. It's not factory recommended scenario, but just comes from the real life. I've seen like 15 degrees bend actually work okay. Then you have to empty the salt, wash it off, and calibrate it already bent. So I'm not sure if our technical support will tell me, like, what, man, come on, it's not.
So, the next question from Bernard regarding the pricing for trackers with Bluetooth capabilities to be connected with 3D sensors. So Bernard, I think it will be more effective if I could communicate with you tomorrow and we could discuss pricing policies, trackers capabilities, etc., tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
For example, by emails. What do you think about this?
But I want to add something that there is no there's no miracle. I have plenty of customers that try to buy the cheapest equipment possible. They just go, we are very price sensitive, and they would go and buy the cheapest possible GPS tracker, and then they would try to install a big project for the fuel transporter with that tracker. So I would recommend this because, you know, how they say, horses for causes. You know, you have to know what exactly you have to achieve, what kind of inputs. As far as I know, Galileosky, they are capable of performing some operations without any connectivity based on the easy logic.
Exactly.
So you can do some scenarios even without communicating to the server. So which I think is very cool, which is not really a GPS tracker kind of an entity, but more like a microcomputer or microcontroller.
Thank you, Tim, for kind words. Actually, I fully agree with you because sometimes when we're talking about fleet management, it's not only about things like pricing or entry task. It's something about accurate. It's about something reliable. For example, when we are talking about projects in Africa, for example, very often it's not about things like pricing, for example. It's first of all about the quality of connection. It's about an opportunities to be in touch with your assets, with your workers, with your people. And of course, it's about constant developing of your monitoring system. So now new features appears like in 1 month, for example. So it's important to be able to add new features, to connect more sensors, to add something without changing your hardware, because sometimes assets of your customer may located so far. For example, some of our partners have regular trips from Ghana to Congo Republic, and etc., from Ghana to South Africa and vice versa, and it might be really expensive to have some trips. So sometimes it's more efficient to have an opportunity for remote connection for your assets. So it's important to have opportunities for remote configuration and remote settings, for example. So I will be glad to discuss all these moments later within personal conversations, because I have a lot to say regarding this and will not take a lot of your time now. So I see the message from Bernard as you get home. Just give me sure. We'll discuss everything. And have one more question from Hossam regarding distributors in Ghana or Nigeria.
Currently, we have a lot of partners. We have customers here in Ghana and Nigeria. In terms of the distributors and resellers, currently we don't have that opportunity, only directly from us, and maybe we can keep in touch with some representatives or like partners who can resell you, but it wouldn't be like our local representative or distributor.
On another hand, that means that there is an open opportunity, because when we can tell you more over the personal discussion if you would like to engage with us, but there's a very good profit in reselling a fuel level sensors. We've been doing calculations, and it's at some points I'm thinking maybe it's a good idea to move somewhere warm, and become a distributor.
We are always open to start a new cooperation.
Sure, you will just have to discuss, have to understand each other's, opportunities, capabilities, and how to proceed, and then we should just do it.
Yeah.
Good. So, well, I see that there is no new questions, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Right.
So, if there are any other things we have not discussed yet or would like to discuss now, you have a last chance to text. Oh, sure. What's your policy for once data faulty?
For TDBLE, what's your policy for once they are faulty? As the hardware manufacturer, it would be very silly to say that we don't have any faulty devices. We do. It's in most cases, it's outside of our reach, because that could happen to the faulty components. As you know, these components, they come in a like roll batch, kind of like a roll, and then in one roll there could be easily 50,000 chips, and machine would be just printing these chips, and some of them, they could be faulty. It's possible. And the faulty component will cause a faulty sensor. So now we move to the policy. If and when you have our sensor and you tell us, you reach out to your sales manager, Natalia, me, and tell, listen, man, I have some faulty sensors, what do I do? We would ask you to first, and it's not because we really want to, but there could be an opportunity that the sensor first may need just simple recalibration, due to some causes, or it may need some, change of the settings. So we would like you to check if you can do 1, 2, 3. We have this specific steps to follow from tech support. If the battery is dead prior to the warranty, which is 3 years for the wired sensors and 5 years for the wireless. 3 years for the wireless sensors and 5 years for the wired. So if it's within the warranty, we can ship you new batteries. So then you can replace it yourself. That's good, because you don't have to pull the whole sensor out. You don't have to recalibrate. You don't have to, do full and empty. You don't have to do the tank calibration, reconnect the new sensor again. You just change the battery and it's good to go. If the sensor is faulty, we offer replacement warranty. Since we are located in Russia and you're located in other country, we don't require you to do the importation back to us. So you just keep the sensors that you have that are faulty, and then we just ship you the new ones. But we have to communicate. We have to get this through simple diagnostic steps together, and then we just. Recently we didn't ship so many, but we ship. I'm responsible for the India market now as a sales manager. For the past 3 years, we shipped 11 or 15 replacement sensors. So that's how many requests we received for the past 3 years.
So, Tim, you have automatically answered the question from Nikolai. And the next question regarding us, regarding API. Since Galileosky doesn't have, we don't have our own software, since we focus on the hardware development. For this reason, we don't have our own API, but we have the protocol for the service exchange. It's the same for all our tracking devices. It's open, so you can easily integrate it with your software products, with your monitoring system. No problem with it. Our engineers could assist you within this process when it's necessary. Just contact us. For example, I could contact you after the webinar and send you the link to our protocol, so you may check it to see how it can be done on your site. From us, we also ready to help. So, if there are no new questions, that there is no. Right. So I assume that we already can finish our webinar today. We already out of the timing actually, but no problem with this. It's okay. Good. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We hope this webinar was interesting, was useful for you. And I'm sure we will be in touch after the webinar to continue all our conversations since here. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Natalie, for interesting presentation. It was a pleasure to see you as usual.
Thank you very much, Alena. Thank you, Galileosky team, for inviting.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you.
Yeah. We wish you have a nice day and have a nice evening, guys. To you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.